Hello everyone. Today, we're going to learn about the present continuous tense. The present continuous tense describes actions that are happening right now, or actions that are still ongoing. This tense has two important parts. First, the present form of the verb, to be, am, is, and are. Second, the present participle of the main verb, which usually ends in ing. For examples, I am studying English. She is reading a book. They are playing football. This tense is used to highlight ongoing activities and to show that something happens at the current moment. Now, let's learn the structure of the present continuous tense. For positive sentences, subject plus am, is, or are, plus the verb ending in ing. For example, she is walking. For negative sentences, subject plus am, is, or are, plus not, plus the verb ending in ing. Example, she is not walking. And for questions, am, is, or are, plus the subject, plus the verb ending in ing. Example, is she walking? Now let's review the verb, to be. Use them with I use or with you, we, and they. And uses with he, she, and it. The present continuous tense is used for describing ongoing actions. These are actions happening at the moment of speaking. For example, they are eating dinner. This sentence shows that the action is happening right now. The present continuous tense can also be used for future plans or arrangements. These are activities that have already been planned before. For example, they are meeting us at 6 p.m. This makes it clear that the arrangement has already been decided. The present continuous tense can also express temporary situations. These are situations that happen for a short period of time and are not permanent. For example, she is working at a coffee shop this summer. This means the job is only temporary. Another use of the present continuous tense is describing repeated annoying actions. It is often used with the word always to show irritation or annoyance. For example, they are always arriving late. In this sentence, the speaker feels annoyed because the action happens repeatedly. The present continuous tense can also describe something that is happening around a specific time. This means the activity happens before, during, and after that time. For example, at 8 o'clock we are usually having breakfast. Or, when I get home, the children are doing their homework. The present continuous tense is also used for situations that are new and different from the past. For example, these days most people are using email instead of writing letters. This sentence shows a modern habit that contrasts with how people communicated before. The present continuous tense can describe something that is changing, growing, or developing over time. For example, the children are growing up quickly, or the climate is changing rapidly. These sentences show ongoing changes that happen gradually. The present continuous tense is also used when telling a story. It makes the story feel more alive, and as if it is happening right now. Stative verbs are verbs that describe a state, not an action. Stative verbs describe states, feelings, thoughts, possession, or senses, instead of physical actions. Because they describe conditions or states, stative verbs are not normally used in the continuous form. Verbs of thinking and feeling describe emotions, opinions, and mental states. These verbs are called stative verbs. Common examples are believe, know, like, love, hate, understand, want, remember. We usually do not use stative verbs in the present continuous tense because they describe a condition, not an action. For example, I understand you is correct because we use the simple present tense. But I am understanding you is incorrect because understand is a stative verb and normally cannot be used with continuous tenses. Verbs of the senses describe how something appears or feels through the senses. Common examples are seem, smell, sound, look, taste, and feel. We usually use these verbs in the simple present tense when describing a condition or impression. For example, you look tired is correct because the verb look describes appearance. You is looking tired is incorrect because the grammar is wrong, and in this context we normally use the simple present tense. Other examples are, the soup smells delicious, your idea sounds great, and she seems happy. Other stative verbs often describe possession, existence, or relationships. Common examples are belong, own, possess, need, agree, disagree, and be. These verbs are usually not used in the present continuous tense because they describe a state, not an action. For example, I need some help is correct because need is a stative verb, so we use the simple present tense. I am needing some help is incorrect because stative verbs normally do not use the continuous form. Other examples are, this bag belongs to me, she owns a small business, and he possesses great talent. Some stative verbs can be used in the continuous form when the meaning changes. For example, I think you are right. Here, the verb think means an opinion or belief, so we use the simple present tense. But in the sentence, I am thinking about my future, the verb thinking means considering something right now, so the present continuous tense is correct. Another example is, he is being rude today. Normally, be is a stative verb and is not used in continuous forms. However, in this sentence, being describes temporary behavior, not permanent personality. It means he is acting rude at this moment, but he is not usually a rude person. Time expressions are words or phrases that show when an action is happening. In the present continuous tense, they help indicate that an activity is happening now, temporarily, or in the near future. First, we use time expressions for actions happening right now. Common examples are now, right now, at the moment, and currently. For example, she is studying now, and they are eating right now. Second, we use time expressions for temporary situations. Common examples are these days, this week, this month, and nowadays. For example, I am staying with my cousin this week, and she is working in Jakarta these days. Third, we use time expressions for future arrangements. Common examples are tomorrow, tonight, next week, and this weekend. For example, we are meeting tomorrow, and she is flying to Bali next week. Fourth, we use time expressions for ongoing changes or trends. Common examples are more and more, gradually, and increasingly. For example, the weather is getting colder. More people are using electric cars. Technology is developing rapidly. Finally, we use time expressions for repeated annoying actions. Common examples are always, constantly, and continually. For example, he is always losing his keys, and she is constantly complaining. These time expressions help us understand the function of the present continuous tense more clearly. When we use the present continuous tense, the main verb usually ends with ing. However, some verbs change their spelling before adding ing. First, for most verbs, we simply add ing. For example, play becomes playing, study becomes studying, and work becomes working. Second, if a verb ends with silent e, we remove the e before adding ing. For example, make becomes making, write becomes writing, and dance becomes dancing. Third, for short verbs ending in consonant-vowel consonant, we double the final consonant before adding ing. For example, run becomes running, sit becomes sitting, swim becomes swimming, and stop becomes stopping. Fourth, if a verb ends in ie, we change ie to y before adding ing. For example, lie becomes lying, die becomes dying, and tie becomes tying. Finally, if a verb ends in y, we simply add ing without changing the y. For example, study becomes studying, play becomes playing, and enjoy becomes enjoying. Now it's your turn. Answer the questions using the present continuous tense. Write your answers in the comment section below. Good luck, and keep practicing your English.